Security Council simulation. The second one is a crisis committee simulation. So before we go to the main part of our today's event, I want to give a word to our respected professor, Murad Bakhadirovich.
Добрый день. Рад вас приветствовать в таком кругу в стенах нашего университета. Извините, что воспользуюсь полномочиями выступающего и правами, что русский язык все-таки один из рабочих языков ООН. Так? Поэтому позвольте вас поздравить с сегодняшним успешным началом. Это только задел. Я думаю, что в течение дня, благодаря живой такой дискуссии, вы найдете реальное решение и такое уникальное, неординарное решение. Так как мы живем в век инноваций, всегда необходимо посмотреть на все вещи не традиционно, а как раз таки нетрадиционно. Так? И я думаю, у вас есть такие способности. Не просто так вы здесь собрались, и, наверное, набралось столько идей, так, что горит душа, чтобы высказать и послушать друг друга, и прийти к каким-то решениям, которые весь мир голову ломает, но не могут прийти к этому решению. Так? И также хотел сказать, что благодаря вам наша традиция не теряется, продолжается, и благодаря вам знамя модели ООН до сих пор веет, и никакой ветер, я думаю, ее не сломает, так? И она, наоборот, будет еще выше, выше, выше еще стоять, так? И охватывать не только весь Узбекистан, но также охватывать и весь мир. Я надеюсь, что в будущем среди вас здесь будут находиться и эксперты международных вузов, так, то есть я имею в виду меры других вузов, зарубежных вузов, которые будут приезжать к нам сюда и вместе с вами решать мировые проблемы. Так? И уже не мы будем на них смотреть и учиться, а они у нас будут учиться. Так? Желаю успехов ваших, так? И надеюсь, что будет хороший результат. Спасибо.
Thank you very much, respected professor. So the second word I will give our respected professor, Lubek Hasanov, please.
Dear students, it's a great honor for me to greet you and welcome you in this very important event in your academic life, so-called simulation of the General, not General Assembly, but the Security Council debate and discussion over the very mattering topic of international relations, which is entitled by you and suggested by you as the threat of privatization of interstate conflicts. That is very impressive, and that is to say that everything you try to achieve during your years in university as students, as young researchers, is about the deepening your knowledge of international community, international politics, international relations, and shaping your understanding of the very mattering, very painful issues in top agenda of global politics. That's why let me wish you a successful day and successful discussions, and get the certain, very effective, promising and important solutions for the issues you try to understand and settle here over your discussions and meetings. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear professor, and thank you for all your wishes, and we appreciate your all contribution to this club and the development of our diplomats. So thank you very much. And next part of our speech will be given to our chairs, and this event will take part in two places. And the first one is here. Security Council simulation will be here, and Crisis Committee simulation will be in room 115. So thank you very much. And after a while, chairs will explain you some procedures of UN Security Council simulation. Thank you.
So he will be back very soon, and the presidency will be conducted by, as a rule, Vice President. He will introduce himself now, and we'll conduct a session with you. Thanks a lot.
Assalamu alaikum. Decorum delegates, distinguished delegates and colleagues, I declare open the second session of the Global Perspective Analytical Forum Diplomatic Assembly Model United Nations Conference. The topic of our session is the threat of privatization of interstate conflicts. My name is Daniel Abdulaziz. I'm honored to serve you as a vice president, and because of some circumstances as your acting president. Well, shall we begin? The House will now come to order. We will begin this session with the conduct of the roll call. I will call each delegate of each state, and you will say present or absent. Delegates are reminded to raise their placards up high when their country's name is called and respond with present and voting. Well,
just one more thing to add. So we have two kinds of voting procedures. The first is procedural one. The second is voting for the resolution at the end of the session. The sessions. So if you say now, like when the vice chair will conduct the roll call, if you just raise your placard and say only present, means you cannot vote at the end of the session for the resolution paper. So in order to attend in the voting procedure, you need to say present and voting, or you may say abstain. It means at the end of the session you will say abstain, neutral. Okay, thanks a lot.
Before the roll call, I should outline some remarks of procedure, rules of procedure. Well, the first rule: English shall be the official and working language of all committees during formal and informal debates in our Security Council committee. You must address another delegate by the third person, not you, but honorable delegate of this or that country. Well, the time shall be given 2.5 minutes for each delegate to present their position paper. Well,
once the delegate finished delivering their speech, you may give your questions in Model United Nations Conference. It is called Point of Information. I hope you are aware of that. Once the delegate finished his or her speech, he should say, I yield the floor back to the chairperson, or if they have time, remaining time, they may say, I yield my remaining time to the delegate of say the delegate of United Kingdom. It means the United Kingdom will have more chance to speak and to be heard by you. The next thing, the delegates will be asked if they are open for any points of information after they finish their speech. And if you are open, you should say, yeah, the delegate is open, and then the chairs will ask you if you limit or no. Like they will ask how many points of information you may receive. You should say like 3 or 4. And it means you will answer to 3 questions. In model United Nations, it's point of information. You will answer that. Or you may say like, no, we are not open for like any points of information, and it means the House will not have a chance to direct you their questions, their point of information. Yeah, thanks a lot. So we have some points on emotions. So first you already learned, right? Point of information, and the next is point of order. If you notice that the chairs are conducting something like they made a mistake, error, you may raise your placard and say point of order. It means you have some complaints on the conduct of the session. And then the next one is point of inquiry. If you have any question to ask from chairpersons, you should direct it through raising your placard for point of inquiry. And then you may raise your motions. Motions will be, for example, offered by you to discuss some of the, say, subtopics, like small ones during the sessions, and you have also opportunity to take an informal caucusing. It means you'll have like free time to negotiate with others and communicate, and if you can lobby and convince others. Also you will have time for drafting the resolutions. If you have like also the Security Council is kind of unique one. It is the not just the Committee of United Nations, as we know. It is the organ, one of the big organs of the United Nations. So we have 5 permanent member states. It means they have veto powers. Veto powers, like if they utilize their veto powers, it means at the end of the conference, your, for example, resolution paper may not be adopted. So just try to be more kind and polite while you're like communicating and working with them. I mean, here we have the United States of America, United Kingdom, Russian Federation, People's Republic of China, and that's it, right? And France, yeah, French Republic, sorry, French Republic. So we have 5 permanent member states and 10 more non-member states. Today we have, they are Belgium, Cote d'Ivoire, Germany, India, Pakistan, Peru, Poland, Turkey, Venezuela, Yemen, and 5 more observer states. They are Dominican Republic, Equatorial Guinea, Indonesia, Kuwait, and South Africa. So it means like observing states have all the rights except voting for the resolution. They may equally participate in procedural voting processes. So, but the only thing, the only difference from non-permanent member states is they cannot vote for the resolution paper at the end of the conference. So, yeah, and also you may raise a point of, or just direct any note to the chairs, showing that you have a point of personal privilege. It means if you're feeling something like discomfort, or like you want to go out, or you need to restroom or something, you may just send it to the chair people. So yeah, if I'm not mistaken, that's all. Yeah. So now I yield the floor back to the chairperson. Thank you.
Is the delegation of China present? China.
When you raise your placard, you should say either you just present or present voting, or you may say abstain. Abstain. So, do you know any anything about being staying abstain?
Can you clarify?
So, do you know what is abstain?
Excuse me, no.
So it means if you decide to be abstain, it means you are voting for no one at the end of the conference. It means your right of vote will be dismissed. So you should either say, if you want to participate in voting procedures at the end of the conference, I'm not talking about the procedural voting. It's about the voting for resolution day. The main part.
President voting.
So, president voting means you will be voting at the end of the conference.
Yeah, sure.
I hope it is clear for all other delegates, right? Is it clear? Now? Yes. Thank you. So, now chair will conduct the roll call. He will just read out your country names, and you should raise your placard and speak out what you decide. Okay? If you state president, or you got it. Thanks.
Well, we'll continue. France, China. We'll begin again with China.
President voting.
France.
President voting.
Russian Federation.
President voting.
President voting.
The USA.
President voting.
Belgium.
President voting.
Côte d'Ivoire.
President voting.
Germany.
President voting.
India.
President voting.
Pakistan. Pakistan.
President voting.
Peru.
President voting.
Poland.
President voting.
Turkey.
President voting.
Venezuela.
President voting.
Yemen.
Present and voting.
So, so now it's the turn of the observing states. You will not have, as I stated already above, you will not have a right to vote, so you should just say present or absent.
Dominican Republic.
Present.
Equatorial Guinea.
Present.
Indonesia.
So we don't have this kind of condition. So you should say either present voting or no. You should only say, you may only say present or president.
Kuwait.
Present.
And South Africa.
Present.
We'll now proceed with the opening speeches of your. The chair reminds you that delegates to refrain from using personal pronoun. Use the third person pronoun. So we'll begin with.
So the first in position paper session is the People's Republic of China. You will be given 2.5 minutes of time to deliver your position paper. Honorable delegates, you may present it solely. Like, you may stand here alone if you wish. Honorable delegates of People's Republic of China. Honorable delegation of People's Republic of China. We need to notify that you may present your member state statement alone, if you wish. But it's totally okay if you decide to do it together.
Okay, sure.
So which one you choose?
Sure.
Together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Mr. President.
You should note that at the end, like when you finish, you should say the delegation, in your case, delegation of the People's Republic of China yields the floor back to the chairperson. Okay. So if you just exceeded like the time, we may like the chair have the right to stop you. So note this too. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you very much, Mr. President, for giving us opportunity to give a speech regarding the threat of prioritization of interstate conflicts. And UN peacekeeping operations are an important and effective means for maintaining international peace and security. The peacekeeping operations, given their expanded scale and broadened mandate, are facing growing challenges today. China is a strong supporter and active participant in UN peacekeeping operations. China maintains that in conducting peacekeeping operations, it's important to strictly abide by and carry out the mandate of relevant Security Council resolutions. Adhere to the three principles of consent, of the parties' impartiality, and non-use of force except in self-defense, put forward by former UN Secretary General Drake, and to respect the will and choice of the good country, strengthen operation planning, set out clear priorities and coordinate actions to form synergy. There should be better coordination between peacekeeping, peacemaking, and peacebuilding. China, today private or state-owned corporations and agencies from China are active in every corner of the globe, from Afghanistan in the east to Zimbabwe in Africa, stretching to Colombia and Brazil in South America. The security of Chinese citizens abroad is increasingly a national security issue for China. This was best demonstrated by the evacuation of Chinese and foreign citizens from war-torn Libya and Yemen in 2011 and 2015. China deeply concerned about the threat and loss caused by armed conflict to the life and property of civilians, and urges the parties concerned to abide by international law and the relevant Security Council resolutions in good faith and give full protection to civilians caught up in armed conflict. China would also be referred to some countries like Venezuela and Yemen.
China is playing close. Can I just move to this? Okay. China is paying close attention to the situation in Venezuela and supports the Venezuelan government in its effort to safeguard its national sovereignty, independence, and stability. Venezuelan affairs should be decided by the Venezuelan people independently. When it comes to the Venezuela issue, China's starting point in the Security Council is to uphold the spirit of the Charter of the United Nations and the basic principles governing international relations, promoting a peaceful settlement of the Venezuela issue, and maintain long-term peace, stability, and development in Latin America. China opposes external cases. China has always supported human in pursuing stability, progress, and development. China has preserved the deterioration of the humanitarian situation in the country. It has 15 actions to ensure the safe and smooth access of humanitarian actions. Thank you. The delegation of China would yield the time to the chairperson.
Thank you very much. We will proceed and continue with the who's speaker of France, delegation of France.
Bonjour à toutes et à tous, chers mesdames et messieurs, chers délégués honorables du Conseil de sécurité des Nations Unies. The delegation of France would like to inform you that we are not open to answer your questions. You may send your note papers, including your questions, related to our position paper. We, the representatives of the French Republic, are greatly concerned with the struggles of privatization. As a founding member of the Eurozone and the United Nations, France has always and will always be concerned with the security of our sister nations in Europe and around the world. France lived through a long period of nationalization until the early 1980s, when nearly all the largest industrial firms, as well as all the banks and public services, were state-owned. Since then, a series of privatization moves have caused the state sector to shrink. Public services present a complex situation. For example, after its IPO, the national telecommunications operator France Telecom, simultaneously subjected to the deregulation of the telecom market in the world and to a new type of governance. EDF, the national electricity producer, is next in line and should experience the same problem and opportunities. We now come to what is usually labeled privatization, the fighting of force by no state, private, actors of agents, where we shall focus especially on private military companies. First of all, most have the same form as other private businesses, with shareholders, holding companies, executives. Secondly, most of them do not merely engage in combat, but also in a wide range of other military activities, such as training and logistics, and many form part of corporations within non-military sector. The Republic of France thinks that the use of PMCS may be more cost-effective than the upkeep of national armies, mainly for peacekeeping and similar non-essential military missions. France strongly believes that the international community and its entirely have the obligation to act in order to reinstate peace and ensure stability and security for the future. France is committed and ready to grant development assistance on demand and without conditions that could further interfere in internal affairs. Merci beaucoup de votre attention. I yield the floor back to the chair.
The next delegation of Russian Federation.
Today, in our global society, there are no fatal wars as it were in the last century. Thanks to UN, many issues and problems across the world are being solved in constructive way. However, there is still armed conflicts in many areas of the world, and most of them reflects border issues and ethnic disputes. What's new in most modern conflicts, the main actors are not states as it was traditionally. Nowadays, there is an increasing role of NGO, private military companies in the interstate conflicts. As great Italian politician Niccolo Machiavelli said, the privatization of conflicts in privatization of interstate conflicts in our today's international relations, it's a current cliché. And as a matter of fact, these non-traditional actors are playing vital role in preventing and solving interstate conflicts. When we talk about non-traditional actors, we expect following types of them. First one, private military companies. Second one, private military and security companies, and also military consulting companies. And the last one, terroristic organizations, such as Al-Qaeda and ISIS. The last one makes the situation even worse, because they don't assume the international rules and laws we should follow in order to maintain peace and stability worldwide. Governmental and these terroristic organizations are combating each other. As a result, they cause border.
30 seconds.
And to be clear, private military companies are different from other types of violence in scale, in scope, in purpose, and legal form. And they differ significantly. The delegation of Privatization proposes to characterize and the role and the importance of private companies in interstates, and also proposes to develop general rules for them and more precisely.
Time. Thank you very much, Mr. Delegate. So, is the delegate? Could you take it, please?
If you don't mind, the delegation of Privatization is open to any question during administration.
According to the rules of procedure, the chair will ask you if you are open or no. And after that, you will answer. Okay? Sorry. So, is the delegate open for any points of information?
No. During unmoderated focus.
So, the delegate declares that he is not open for any points of information. So, you may take your place. Thanks a lot. So, next on the speakers list is the delegate of the United Kingdom.
Good morning, honorable delegates and chair. To begin with, privatization of military forces in conflicts is not an entirely new for the world. However, in the last decades, this will develop significantly, and even being the reason in the number of considerable dilemmas, especially related to the life of the civilians. And Britain has led this privatization of modern warfare. Also, it leads the world in providing armed contractors to hotspots, be it combating terrorism in the Middle East or fighting threats of the Horn of Africa, as it's one of the most cost-effective ways of privatization. Moreover, British companies claim to operate in 17 out of the 30 countries that the Foreign Office lists as human rights priorities countries. However, here the main alarming dilemma is the majority of these companies will serve whoever can pay, from wealthy private individuals to faceless corporations. The United Nations is drawing up plans for an international convention that's legally binding on private security and military companies. And Switzerland bans companies based in the country from operating in conflict zones. So, Britain has signed up to an international code of conduct for private security service providers, laying down principles covering accountability to the law and human rights. And also, government of the United Kingdom is taking actions to regulate the problems associated with these private companies.
Thanks a lot, the delegate. So, would you like to yield the floor back to the chair?
Yes, the delegation of UK yields the floor back to the chair.
Thank you very much. So, is the delegate open for any points of information?
Yes, we are open.
So, thank you very much. It's noted. So, how many points of information you would like to receive?
One.
Only one. So, delegate limits the number of points of information to only one. So, so now we will ask the house if they have any points of information. Then you will need to raise your placard high so that we could notice that. So, is there any points of information in the house? So the delegation of the American Republic is noted. The next was United States of America. No, indeed, they were first, but they broke it through. So you're noted. Next one. You may give your point of information.
Dominican Republic, but no. The delegation of the Dominican Republic would like to know. Now you mentioned about.
Mike is working.
Now you mentioned about some reasons, but you don't mention about the attempts or main attempts of the UK. Can you clarify your attempts, which is related to the topic?
Okay, of course. And recently, as the government of the UK is taking actions to regulate the problems associated with these private companies by legal obligations with accordance to the international humanitarian law and international human rights standards. And also, Authority of Britain feels itself as an accountable for the activities of the private military companies operating from the UK and agrees to enhance the regulation of this sector in order to overcome the threat to the civilians. In conclusion, on behalf of the United Kingdom, we claim to work unitedly with entire nations as to overcome not only current challenges but also other feasible issues that may happen because of privatization of intrastate conflicts in the near future.
Thanks a lot, delegate. Is the delegate of the American Republic satisfied with your statement? Thanks a lot. The delegate of United Kingdom, you may take your seat. Thanks a lot. So the next on the speakers list to present their position paper is the United States of America. Would you come to the order, please? You are not allowed to use any gestures during the sessions. Maybe you may use it in other UN conferences, but here we have some strict certain rules of procedure. Thanks a lot.
The panel today, honorable delegates and His Excellency, highly appreciate President and Vice President. The new era is marked by a decrease in conventional warfare with large armies and an increase in conflicts characterized as military operations other than war. Added to this are a growing number of nations unable to provide security for their citizens, as well as the increasing demand by civilian leadership around the world for leaner, less expensive military forces. These developments have fueled a surge of interest in the privatization of conflict. An increasingly important manifestation of this trend is the private military corporations, organized to provide often specialized military expertise to its clients. Within the United Nations, initiatives to investigate and regulate the global private military and security industry have developed through 4 separate United Nations organs. Within the Human Rights Council, chief among these is the United Nations Working Group on the Use of Mercenaries, Private Military and Security Companies. The Working Group of the Use of Mercenaries was established in July 2005, and it was pursuant to Commission on Human Rights Resolution 2005 and 2. The working group monitors and researches mercenaries and mercenary-related activities in all their manifestations, including companies that provide military and security services. United States of America departments and agencies contributing to combat or stability operations overseas are relying on private firms to perform a wider scope of security service than was previously the case. Use of private security contractors to protect personal and property in the countries has been a subject of debate in the press, in Congress, and in international community. While private security companies are widely viewed as being vital to the United States of America efforts in the regions, many members are concerned about transparency, accountability, and legal and symbolic issues raised by the use of armed civilians to perform security tasks formerly performed by military personnel, as well as the adverse impact of private security companies may be having on the counterinsurgency efforts. The United States of America, in the close collaboration with the United Nations and all the countries, proposed an innovative approach consisting of a number of vital components, which would be one of the key actions to diminish the stress of privatization of wars, intrastate conflicts, and armed rebels. This holistic approach cannot be a peacekeeping approach. It must be better called a comprehensive peace-building approach. Peacekeeping will, in most cases, a very important and probably even the largest and most costly component, but it will only be one of many components. Thank you very much. The delegation of the United States of America would like to yield back to the chairs.
Mr. Delegate. So you also have right to ask the chairs to give additional time to finish your position paper. But it's up to solely chair's decision if you will be given or not, so that you could understand. Okay, thanks a lot. So is the delegate open for any points of information?
Yes, the delegation of the United States of America is open any kind of information without limitation.
Thanks a lot. But we will need to limit. The chair decides to limit the points of information that will be directed to the delegate of the United States to 5. Thanks a lot. So, point of information. Could you come? House, could you come to order, please? Chair recognize the delegate of the Russian Federation.
Honorable delegate of USA, I want to ask that many military companies that
sorry for interruption, dear delegate. We first ask you to come to order. It means you need to put your placards back, but you kept raising it. Therefore, we noticed you, we recognized you, and we are very interested if you have any other offers or something else. So we will now ask you, all of you from the House, if you have any points of information, then you will need to raise it, raise your placard. Okay. So now you don't have to discuss it. Right. Sorry.
Honorable delegate, I want to ask that
delegate.
Most private companies are based in.
Delegate, we first need to ask you all equally. Then, according to the order, I mean, by order, like first, Cote d'Ivoire may raise the second, maybe Turkey or someone else. According to them, we will recognize you and know that, and give you chances. Okay? Now you are not recognized to give your point of information. Okay? Sorry. Thanks a lot. Is there any points of information? I ask you to put your. Once I finish my direction to you, then you may raise your anything. Okay. So, so is there any points of information in the House? So, sorry, could you keep your placards high? So, Honorable Delegate of Peru, Honorable Delegate of Cote d'Ivoire, Honorable Delegate of People's Republic of China, Honorable Delegate of Russian Federation, Honorable Delegate of Venezuela, you are recognized. So, first the recognized was the Delegate of Peru. Yeah,
America emphasized about private companies can provide some military forces in regions. So the Republic of Peru wants to know about how the companies couldn't sell their own arms to the terroristical groups. Could you clarify it?
Thank you very much. Honorable delegation from Peru.
Dear delegate, one more thing. You have only 30 seconds to answer all of the points of
The
information.
delegation of the United States of America would like to make it clear the point of information of Peru.
So you need to clarification.
Yes.
Dear respected delegate of Peru, could you clarify your point of information?
Yes. You emphasized about private countries which can provide some military forces in regions. And how can you ban it to sell them to terroristical organizations?
Thank you very much. If the delegation of the United States of America got the point of information of the Peru right, these companies are different, totally different from the terrorist groups. These companies are undertaking their actions under the international law, and the laws of the Charter of the United Nations. They are not allowed strongly to have any relationships or to have any contributions with the terrorist groups.
Thanks a lot. So next, the list is the delegate of Cote d'Ivoire.
Thank you, Mr. President. The honorable delegates of United States, from the point of honorable delegates of Cote d'Ivoire, really want to explain and clarify the actions in Afghanistan and in some several states of Africa. So the main purpose was to build the peace. So in Afghanistan and in most African countries, the result of intervention of these privatized military services was critical and problematic.
Honorable Delegate of Cote d'Ivoire, your point of information should sound very brief and laconic. Okay.
So, is it
Reduce.
recognized?
Okay, thank you very much, the
Reduce
Honorable President. If you let me speak, the delegation of the United States think that the delegation understood what is the point of information and would like to answer to the point of information.
Yeah.
Of course, we hopefully with your confirmation.
Well, I hope you will notice.
Okay, thank you very much. Highly appreciate the delegation of the Cote d'Ivoire. And so far, what the United States of America did for the countries that they had some kind of wars, they have interstate conflicts, for the peace, for building the peace. And you are getting like some mistakes, you are getting into some doubtfulness because of that you don't recognize what is the private companies, private security companies, and the policy of the certain country. The delegation of the United States of America would like to explain you in unmoderated caucus what is the difference between them and what kind of policies have been used by the United States of America.
Thanks a lot, dear delegate. So the next on the list is the People's Republic of the delegate of Cote d'Ivoire is. Are you satisfied with the answer? Their statement.
Okay. The delegate of Cote d'Ivoire will wait for the unmoderated caucus.
Thanks a lot. So next on the list is the People's Republic of China. You recognize.
Thank you a lot, dear and honorable delegation of the United States. The delegation of Republic of China would like to ask whether you said at the end of your sentence that United States want to build peace building, not
Yes.
like peacekeeping. The delegation of People's Republic of China would like to clarify what do you mean by peace building?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Honorable Delegation of People's Republic of China, for your point of information. And the delegation of the United States mentioned that we are going to build peace. We are not going to keep the peace, because so far, what kind of actions used was the purpose of keeping the peace, but they didn't work out. So we, with the help of the United Nations and of course the countries who are willing to contribute to the peacefulness, we are going to launch a strategy, and because of the time limit, the delegation of the United States will explain with more detailedly in the next sessions on what is talks. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, dear delegate. Next in the speakers list. Next in the speakers list, the delegate of Russian Federation.
Thanks. Honorable delegate of United States, the delegation of Russia Federation wants to know your opinion about the most private military companies based on USA by mistake killing innocent people in conflict zones such as Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria. And it's a common case in our today's global society. Hope the delegation of the United States would comment this situation.
Thank you very much, Honorable Delegation of the Russian Federation. From the point of information of Russian Federation, the United States of America would like to mention a fact about this event happening situation. The personnel of these private security companies, they also have no desire, have no determination to kill the innocent people living there. Not only these people are being killed, but also the people of these companies are also being killed. You should think about this aspect as well. And one more thing to mention, to add to the answer, is that all the private security and private military companies under the United States of America are always in close relation to the international law, to the United States of America's certain laws and Charter of the United Nations. Thank you very much.
Is the United States of America defense military privatized?
Thank you very much. In the United States, yes, the United States of America used the privatized sectors a lot in terms of the defending inside of the country and outside of the country. But it doesn't necessarily mean that the Army or the Army of the United States of America are fully privatized, but to some extent it is. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, the delegate. So we don't have any points of information in the House. So thank you very much, the delegate of United States of America.
Thank you very much.
So next. Next on the speakers list is the Federal Republic of Germany.
Thank you very much, honorable delegates and vice members. So undeniably, threat of privatization of intrastate conflicts is not a brand new phenomenon, as majority of countries facing to this problem. It occurs when the government gives the authority of military actions in an intrastate conflict to private military companies, and that's sometimes dangerous, because it can have some bad consequences. For example, Blackwater Company, which launched by Eric Prince, can be a vivid example for this. During war in Iraq, they committed genocides, ethnic cleansing there, and used their mines. That's why they lost their trust. And also, private security is tasked with guarding people or places, not following the government's plan to win a war. Privately contracted security has different goals than military, so mostly it generates negative effects. There are only a few private firms in the sector of privatization of Germany. Nevertheless, they do exist, and the Bundeswehr military system uses their services in some cases. There's a long tradition of private firms that build military equipment like tanks for Bundeswehr company. Experts of the company Rheinmetall land system, for example, support German troops in Afghanistan, in Kosovo and Bosnia. And also Rheinmetall offers services such as the training of soldiers for the maintenance of technique. This kind of cooperation is not seen as crucial, although the growing distance to Germany, which is caused by the expanding role of Bundeswehr abroad, causes logistical problems. These firms can be seen as military and security support firms. Other private companies like the International Business Company, which is situated in Germany, offer training and weapons. Companies like Effects, International Rescue Squad and Optronics also offer services for military counseling or operation support. In general, it can be argued that although there might be informal competition, the market of military services is highly intransparent. And also they worry about their reputation and try to satisfy as many clients as possible. Nevertheless, Germany has established safeguards to ensure political influence.
Would the delegates yield the floor back to the dais?
Yes. So the delegation of Germany would like to yield the floor back to the chair.
Is the delegate open for any point of information?
No.
Thanks.
Excuse me, but after the some change in the period of the workshop and our delegates cannot afford enough budget papers like other states.
Would the delegate of Yemen like to open a motion, raise a motion to lunchtime?
The delegation of Yemen also raises parliamentary inquiry to start lunch according to the agenda.
So the dais are hoping for your motions. Anyone could raise? Yeah, the delegate of the United States is recognized. Thanks a lot. Your motion is in order. So we ask you to be back at 12:30. 1 hour you have. If you have if you want to start lobbying, if you have prepared your position papers, just start it now so that later it wouldn't be late. So thanks a lot. You're free to have your lunch. Thanks. To show you the videos by our sponsors, promote them because we, So general main sponsor of the conference is Line Motors. The official sponsor of the conference is Co-working Center Ground Zero, and the partner of the conference is Back Level, it's consulting company.
Xarid bilan tabriklaymiz. Endi sizga davomida Line Motors'dan sovg'alar o'yin ishtirokchisiga aylandingiz.
Otamiz sovg'a chiqarmıyor. Undan ko'ra yakında sovg'a bor. Sog'lik tinglayapsiz.
Mana, televizor. Yig'rovda siz qimmatbaho sohalar yoki to'rtta Spark va bitta libos avtomobilni egasi bo'lishingiz mumkin.
Bitta ko'proq qayta ishtirok etish huquqiga ega.
Shuningdek, siz Line Motors'ning hududiy markazlari orqali ham xarid shartnomasini tuzishingiz mumkin. Line Motors foydali xaridlar hisoblanadi. Anketda shartnoma tuzishni.
Odamlarga qarayapsiz. Malibu, Spark, to'g'rilarga to'xtaydigan bor.
Background is a partner of the conference.
которая из обычного замысла превращается в
official sponsor of the conference, sponsor of the organization.
чтобы задействовать все имеющиеся ресурсы с максимальной пользой. Вместе с тем, перебойная работа интернета и навязчивое внимание официантов снизит вашу продуктивность. Вероятно, аренда офиса покажется верным решением. Но оправдан ли данный вариант на стадии подготовки и планирования проекта, будучи существенно финансово затратным? Мы предлагаем вам посетить коворкинг-центр Ground Zero. Ground Zero – это не просто новый формат работы стремящихся к успеху людей. Это место, где вы можете с комфортом работать над развитием своего проекта. Здесь все под рукой. Качественная мебель, необходимая оргтехника, бесперебойный интернет и ароматный кофе. Нам важен профессиональный рост наших резидентов. Именно для вас мы проводим встречи с менторами, акселерацию проектов, бизнес-токс, демо-дейс, нетворкинг-вечера и прочие мероприятия. Совершенствуйтесь в компании единомышленников, возможных бизнес-партнеров и просто интересных людей. Ground Zero – ваше идеальное место для работы. Свяжитесь с нами дистанционно или посетите нас лично.
We thank you for your attention. So now we'll proceed with the roll call after the lunch. I hope we are not, you're not feeling, we are not relaxed that much, we're not feeling lethargic, and yet you gained enough energy for the heated debates and the fruitful resolution papers. So, delegates, we will conduct the roll call. The chair will conduct the roll call.
Now I will name the countries, and you will just say the president, not just President voting, just for the record. People's Republic of China. President. France. President. Russian Federation. President. The UK. President. The USA.
President.
Belgium.
President.
Cote d'Ivoire.
President.
Germany.
President.
India.
President.
Pakistan. President. Peru.
President.
Poland.
President.
Turkey.
President.
Venezuela.
President.
Yemen.
President.
Dominican Republic.
President.
Equatorial Guinea.
President.
Indonesia.
President.
Kuwait.
President.
South Africa.
President.
All presidents.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Chairperson. So the dice have noticed that we have one more delegate sitting with the delegate of the United States of America. So could we have any clarification, please? Could you introduce yourself, please, the delegate?
Thank you very much, the Honorable President of the Security Council. The co-delegate of the United States of America was late on account of some personal reasons, so now the delegation are fully present during conference.
Okay, could you get any brief introduction, please, of your co-delegate? So just type out yourself, your name, your full name, your institution, and how you appeared here.
Okay. Good afternoon, dear delegates and tutors. So my name is Omida Kodama. Currently, I'm studying at the Westminster International University in Tashkent at the level 4 economics. So my reason to join to the US as a delegate because the co-delegate of the United States meeting. That's why I'm just joining this one.
Thank you very much. So now, according to the rules of procedure, we'll need to conduct the voting procedure. So chair declares we need to proceed with the voting procedure. The issue is if you are in favor of keeping this delegate in the house. Do you mind if she joins us or no? So those delegates who are in favor of this issue, that they don't mind that this delegate will stay here until the end of the conference. So please raise your placards high and keep them. A simple majority, this motion is passed. Congratulations to your delegate. Soon you will be provided with the package of the documents of the conference. Thanks a lot. Now we will proceed with the continuation of position paper session. So next on the speakers list is the delegate of India. Dear delegate, please note you have only 2.5 minutes to present your position paper.
Thank you, honorable delegates and chair, for giving me a chance to present. A private military company, PMC is a private company providing armed combat or security services for financial gain. PMC refer to their staff as security contractors or private military contractors. In developing countries that have natural resources such as oil refineries in Iraq, they are hired to guard the area. They are also hired to guard companies that contract services and construction efforts such as General Electric. Apart from securing companies, they secure officials and government affiliates. Private military companies carry out many different missions and jobs. Some examples include close protection for the Afghan President Hamid Karzai and piloting reconnaissance airplanes and helicopters as a part of Plan Columbia. According to a study from 2014, the PMC industry was worth over 200 billion a year at the time. Strategically, more significant aspect of such PMC operations in the region is whether it could lead to the formulation of new strategic imperatives for the Indian security concerns. In other words, whether employee of private security groups can be considered to be an appropriate and adequate strategy to fight evolving threats emerging from non-state actors internally, which are evolving into more complex and dangerous ones in recent years. Continuous involvement and engagement of state security forces, particularly the army and the paramilitary forces in such internal conflict zones, can project the image of the state security forces
30 seconds.
As an occupation force. A fact the army would like to avoid. Several senior members of the Indian army have time and again warned against the dangerous implications involved in such continuous presence of the army. So private military security companies operate in a legal vacuum. They pose threat to civilians and to international human rights law. So now I'll give the floor to the chair.
Thank you. Is the delegation of India open to any point of information?
Delegation of India is not open.
Thank you. You may keep your... The next speaking delegation is Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela.
So good afternoon, honorable chairs and delegates. So first of all, let us explain the status of private military in our country. We all know the crisis situation in Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. The opposition of Juan Guaido are ready to destroy the government if our official President Maduro do not leave the government. For this, they need a huge support of nation and private military. And there is a question, who can support them with the private military? We think the answer is obvious. The United States fully supports Juan's opposition, and there is huge probability of providing private military by the United States. When we are trying to solve our economic crisis by peace, the United States is trying to keep a civil war in our country. For example, in 20th of March 2019, the Juan's opposition, with the help of the United States, stole $40 million from our international banks, and we announced it yesterday to mass media. We believe that the reason is motivate our nation by developing countries' economic crisis. Moreover, the blind objection of Maduro with the help of US private military. As you can see, the private army brings a huge threat to government, with the example of the situation in our country. What can we do to stop the privatization of war, not only our country, but in the whole world? We need the support of other permanent countries to implement strict laws against private military in order to prevent violations and terroristic acts. It would help us to keep peace in our country and even in the world. Now I will give the floor to the chairperson.
Point of reply.
The delegate of United States, you can be recognized.
Point of reply. Yeah.
Thank you very much, honorable delegation of the Venezuela. Can you provide a clear example of the acts of the United States of America as a nation, not just some private companies which are created in the United States of America, just as a nation? Can you provide some clear actions of United States of America, not the private companies of United States of America? Thank you.
Yeah. As I mentioned, the opposition of Juan's, with the help of United States, they stole $30 million from our international banks.
Point of reply. Thank you very much. The delegation of the United States of America rejects your point as it's not relevant to the sources that you found, because the United States of America has not acted any kind of stealing the money from the Venezuela, but the private security companies was hired by the country of Venezuela to help to seize the war in the country, not to steal the money. Thank you.
Point of reply of the United States. Is the delegate of Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela open to any point of information?
We are open for 2 points of information.
So, 2 points of information. Are there any such point of information on the floor? The Republic of Cote d'Ivoire and the United States also has recognized it, and we will have our point of information in this order. So, the delegation of Cote d'Ivoire.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. The delegation of the Republic of Venezuela. The delegation of Cote d'Ivoire is able to ask about, make a clarification about how to make the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela less dependent on PMC, not just making it independent, and how can you make it independent, less dependent on these kinds of private military services? Which kinds of efforts are taken by the Venezuela?
For against military.
Yeah.
So that's why we are asking the help of United Nations to prevent violations by private side military. And we should implement strict laws against them. So we don't have any laws now.
Is the delegation of Could you are satisfied with the answer?
The delegation of Cote d'Ivoire is satisfied with the answer.
Thank you. The delegation of United States of America.
Thank you very much. Highly appreciate that person. The delegation of the United States of America would like to ask a point of information about what kind of realistic and possible solutions do the delegation of the Venezuela have, other than just making some countries, some powerful countries, guilty? Thank you very much.
Can you repeat your point of information?
What kind of possible realistic solutions or proposals does the delegation of Venezuela have, rather than making the making powerful countries guilty of these problems? Thank you.
So, as I mentioned in my speech, we are against private military, and we ask again other countries to support us and ban these contract dealers.
So, the delegation of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, you may take your place. And the next speaker, the delegation of Yemen. You may take the floor.
Distinguished vice members, honorable delegates, in the contemporary world, it's possible to hire an army to fight a war, invade a city, or even intervene in a crisis. We all know that George W. Bush did it in Afghanistan and in Iraq. Mr. Vladimir Putin did in Syria. Even there were cases where actors and actresses explored the possibility of hiring a private military to intervene in a crisis, such as Darfur crisis in 2008. So private military contractors, or PMCs, have been arming military operatives for hire. The global industry for private armies is worth more than 200 billion. Today, states, multinational corporations, and even individuals can rent a soldier for $500 to $750 a day. They can do anything from assisting in conflict to protecting officials and natural resources such as oil fields and training militaries, or simply providing logistics. However, the use of PMCs is now controversial. It's allowing governments to participate in questionable activities without getting their hands dirty. Take the Blackwater as an example. Now called Academy, a US-based PMC founded by ex-Navy SEAL Eric Prince. Soon after 9/11, President George W. Bush got the Central Intelligence Agency to form a top-secret assassination unit to find and kill Al-Qaeda operatives, and the CIA decided to outsource the task to Blackwater. Running operations through Blackwater gave CIA power to abduct or kill people with no one in the government held responsible. During the war in Afghanistan and the invasion of Iraq, there was no private contract for, one private contractor for every US soldier on the ground. But after 2009, that number tripled. They were used to protect diplomats, provide logistics.
10 seconds.
And support. Also, they weren't designed for combat. They did respond with hostilities. So, distinguished members and honorable guys, the delegation of Yemen wants to raise a motion to complete the position paper if possible.
This grants you to continue your speech.
Thank you very much. So then there's also the issue of PMCs grossly violating human rights. The leaked 2005 trophy video of presumed Aegis defensive secret of the United Kingdom operatives shooting unarmed civilians at random in Iraq listening to Elvis Presley's song sparks an international outcry till now. In 2007, 4 Blackwater guards were involved in shootout in Iraq, leading to deaths of 17 unarmed civilians. The Iraqi government calls the civilian deaths a killing, but due to the murky legal status of the contractors, they could not be prosecuted under Iraqi law. Later that year, the U.S. congressional report that linked Blackwater to the 195 shooting in Iraq. Moreover, it's not just civilians at risk. PMCs have been accused for being so profit-driven that they neglect security and put their own employees at risk. Incidents like these raise questions around the legal status, management, and accountability of PMCs. Private military companies are performing state functions that are not regulated by frameworks set up to vet employees and weapons or monitor their activities. In 2008, the Mantra document was launched by Red Cross.
Please come to your closing remarks.
Sure. So, in 2008, the Mantra document was launched by Red Cross and guides the state use of private military and security companies. But the issue is that this document is not legally binding and does not hold states or PMCs accountable. So today, we should look at some questions. All of us, we should look at some questions. To what extent that PMC should be regulated, or whether states can hire a private military armies to intervene to the interstate conflicts. Thank you very much. The delegation of MUN yields the floor back to chair.
Is the delegation of MUN open to any point of information?
The delegation of MUN is open for point of information without any limitation.
Thank you.
Point of reply.
The point of reply of States has been thank you very much.
Thank you very much, the Honorable Delegation of the MUN, for your informative speech. The delegation of the United States of America would like to ask a point of information about you mentioned some actions of PMCs related to the United States of America, right? And at these times, without the usage, without the actions of the PMSS, private security military services companies, what do you think? Would it have been like, well, maybe it would have brought more damages, more deaths if the countries didn't use, like, if PMCs were not used in these civil wars, in these very urgent issues.
So the delegation of MUN wants to answer for a question of United States. We would like to clarify that there wasn't anything about the actions taken by the United States, but in contrast, there were actions taken by the private military contractors registered in the United States, such as Blackwater, currently called as the Academy.
And the point of reply of the United States has not been recognized, has not been accepted. Sorry. So, is other point of information on the House? So, the delegation of Turkey, delegation of China, delegation of France, Cote d'Ivoire, and USA have been recognized. So, in this order, Turkey, delegation of Turkey, you may ask your point of information.
The delegation of Turkey would like to ask some clarifications for the delegation of Yemen. How do you assume the impact of Russian Federation on Eastern interstate conflicts, positively or negatively?
The delegation of Yemen wants to clarify the point of information. The intervenes of Russian registered PMC companies in which territory? In the Middle East or in Turkey?
In Middle East.
In the Middle East. So the delegation of Yemen wants to note that in Syria in 2004, the PMC company registered in the Russian Federation called Wagner. The Wagner company intervened into the Syrian interstate conflict, and then in 2008 there was a record that the Wagner company intervened into our state Yemen. So in the shooting, in the deaths, currently accounts to 10,000 up to 50,000 casualties. So this is a case that in our case in Yemen, is in the territory of Yemen, which is of course in the Middle East, that we would like to solve our crisis ourselves, and we don't encourage the private military companies to intervene or other states to hire private military companies to solve the problem of Yemen. Solve the problem of Yemen.
The delegation of Yemen has been given 30 seconds to each question, each point of information.
Yes.
The delegation of People's Republic of China.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you very much, the delegate from Yemen, for your position paper, and I would like to develop. I would like you to develop on your statement that you mentioned the private military companies should be regulated, and I would like to get detailed data about how and what kind of what operations is that, what kind of private military companies should be regulated, and in what means. Thank you very much.
So, honorable delegation of China, the delegation of Yemen wants to suggest that advantages and disadvantages, threats and opportunities of this new regulatory body during the moderated and unmoderated caucuses in general debate.
The delegation of France, if it has also been organized.
The delegation of France would like to ask how the delegation of Yemen was affected by private military companies.
The honorable delegation of France, again, we call all the member states to discuss how the Yemeni government and Yemeni people have been affected by PMC companies during formal debate in moderated or unmoderated caucuses. It's a motion. Yeah.
The delegation of Côte d'Ivoire, you also have organized.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Well, the delegation of Yemen mentioned about the PMCs are violating the human rights. Should PMCs be held responsible for their past war crimes, or is there any contribution of the state to the country?
Thank you very much. First of all, the PMCs should be responsible for the violating human rights. PMCs should be responsible under international humanitarian law for killing 17 unarmed civilians in Iraq, and the currently trial is going on with murderers, with suspects of these violating actions. But how about states? The states will be also discussed during a general debate to what extent states should be responsible.
Would the delegation of Yemen yield the floor back to the dais?
The delegation of Yemen yields the floor back to House.
Thank you. The delegation of the United States, you have the floor.
Excuse me, point of personal privilege.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. The delegation of the United States of America would like to raise a motion on moderate caucus with total time of 15 minutes.
Moderate?
Moderate caucus. With a total time of 15 minutes, 1.5 minutes per delegate, on the topic of the new approach to the solution of regulations of the activities of PMSCs and subcontractors.
Would the speaker please keep to the content of the resolution?
Again?
Yes.
Okay, it's the new innovative approach on the regulations of the activities of PMCs and subcontractors.
So, is the delegate of the United States raising the motion?
Yes.
To discuss in the House?
Yes.
So, could you please repeat your brief title of your subtopic?
Yes, the delegation of the United States of America would like to raise a motion on the topic of the innovative approach on the regulation activities of PMCs and subcontractors. With a total time of 15 minutes, 1.5 minutes per delegate.
To vote this,
No, yes.
like in
More motions.
no, first you will present your motion, then we will vote for it. If it passes, we'll directly move to debate, like discussing that motion for you.
Thank you.
So, delegates, we will now conduct the voting procedure. So, delegates who are in favor of the motion by the United States of America, that includes 15 minutes of like overall time and 1.5 minutes for each delegate. So, those who are in favor, please raise your placards high and keep them.
Innovative solution.
So those who are against, please raise your motion. Placard, sorry. Honorable delegates, voting is mandatory in procedural processes. So, please, we will reconduct it. Those who are in favor of the motion by the United States of America, please raise your placards high and keep them. So, with simple majority, this motion was passed. Congratulations. So, as the initiator of the motion, please state your own points, remarks. Yes, sitting. Yeah. You may just in your slot. So, you have now 1.5 minutes to delegate. So, go on.
Thank you very much. Highly appreciate delegates and the honorable chairperson. The United States of America would like to incorporate a new strategy, innovative strategy, which is designed to regulate the actions of private military and security companies in the worldwide arena. So far, these companies, these private sectors, are being a part of the civil wars, interstate conflicts, and other issues related to today's urgent topic. So we should, first of all, we should regulate the activities of these private sector companies. How we can do this? We have the delegation of the United States of America has prepared the certain the steps how to move forward this approach, this new strategy. It's a global strategy which are going to be supported by the United Nations as well, because the reason is that all of these components of this strategy are taken by the international law, are taken by the Charter of United Nations, and of course it is relevant to all the world laws and charters and resolutions. The United States, the delegation of the United States of America would like
to delegate. The time's up.
Final.
So you need
final sentence.
How many more? 5?
One sentence. Yeah. The delegation of the United States of America will demonstrate the whole approach, whole strategy in the next upcoming Moderate caucus. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Honorable. Yeah. Thanks a lot, Honorable Delegate. So now we also need to formulate the speakers list for this motion. Those who want to have to. So we have People's Republic of China. Here's so Kingdom of Belgium, Turkey, Pakistan. Do we have any more? All right. So, honorable delegates, those who are in speakers list, please be reminded that you will be given 1.5 minutes of time, and we have also general time for this motion. So now, according to the speakers list, is People's Republic of China. The floor is yours. Thanks.
Honorable Dias members, and thank you a lot, dear delegates, honorable delegates. The delegation of People's Republic of China would like to declare that the problem of PMC, private military companies and private security companies, has not been created during the several decades. It has been created from the prehistoric times, from ancient times. So we cannot eradicate this problem with our fingertips. So it takes a lot of time. So therefore, the delegation of People's Republic of China would like to offer some innovative approach for solving this problem. The first one, I would like to declare that the Montrex document created in 2008 year is not appropriate for solving this problem, because this document doesn't have any binding document. It's not a binding document, so not all of the private security companies can follow this. Therefore, first of all the delegations and all the nations should create another document which is binding and obligatory for all the nations. And apart from this, we should be as one nation. Actually, if we take into consideration the fact that UN is against private security companies, still UN is taking some help from private security companies in solving problems in Afghanistan and in Israel. So first of all, UN should create its own army for solving these problems in war places instead of taking help from private security companies. Therefore, People's Republic of China would like to offer collaboration with all nations.
Thanks a lot. Honorable Delegate of China, please state in the content of the motion by the United States of America. So, thanks a lot. Next in the speakers list is Kingdom of Belgium. The floor is yours, the honorable delegation. Could you please pass the mic to the delegate, please?
So, dear
Dear honorable delegates, we would like also to make an approach on this problem, and our approach as the delegation of the Kingdom of Belgium is to actually regulate, control all the PMCs and create some agencies perhaps under the government who can perhaps control those PMCs and undertake actions in order to don't let the UN Charter or the international humanitarian law be offended. So our approach is also to create some kind of technologies or perhaps some kind of controlling data which can be some fixing points in order to prevent
30 seconds.
A tragedy, prevent uncontrolled PMCs and uncontrolled battles that perhaps may be obtained, how the I don't remember, one of the delegates mentioned about the UK having bad control of those PMCs, and I'd like to say that it should be controlled.
Thank you, Delegate of Kingdom of Belgium. Next speaker on the list is Pakistan. Islamic Republic of Pakistan. You have the floor.
Thank you for all the honorable delegates. And
Could you pass the mic?
of Islamic Republic of Pakistan is
Good afternoon, dear honorable delegates of the conference. The Islamic Republic of Pakistan is can you give some detailed information? Maybe some of them cause some problems happening to terrorists, maybe. But we had better put some control for those companies, with the companies, taking the control, but giving some rules to them. Of course, we cannot do it directly. We can do it by step, as they may kind of against for us, maybe against for us. Thank you for all.
Thank you to the Delegate of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan. And the next speaker on the list is Russian Federation. The Delegate of Russian Federation, you have the floor.
Point of information will be given after this.
The delegation of Russian Federation want to propose that we should give some kind of special status to PMC companies and regulate their activity through some kind of responsibilities which would be attached to the Security Council.
Thank you a lot. Honorable Delegate of Russian Federation. So now, as we do not have any more delegations on the speakers list, we will move. Turkey was before Pakistan.
I have a point of personal privilege.
No, you may. So Turkey, have you been recognized with the chair? Were you given a floor? No. So you wanted to say something, or your delegate, co-delegate? Yeah. Your co-delegate. Yeah. Right. Okay. So we'll notice. Okay. Now we will proceed with the point of information. Points of information. So now, if you have any points of information to the delegate of the United States of America, you will ask not now. First, I will ask some things in simple language. I'm trying to explain it. I will need to ask some things from this delegate. After this, I will declare or announce something, and according to that, you will follow. Okay. So the delegate is open for 4 points of information. So chairs decide that we will give you 2 minutes for each point of information and 1 minute for presenting, like answering things. Thank you. Thanks a lot. So, is there any points of information to the Honorable Delegate of the United States of America in the House? So, Honorable Delegate of Venezuela has been recognized. Any more? So, Honorable Delegate of Russian Federation, if I'm not mistaken, you had some remarks to ask from the Delegate of the United States of America before. Okay. So, Honorable Delegate of Venezuela, Honorable Delegate of Russian Federation. No more. Okay, so thanks a lot. So now the delegation of Venezuela will direct their point of information to the Honorable Delegate of the United States of America. So you'll have 2 minutes. No, sorry, like 1 minute to present your point of information.
Thank you, Honorable Chairs. Dear delegation of the United States, do you think your national army and your national security is enough for securing your government? If yes, why do you need it?
Thank you very much, Honorable Delegation of Venezuela, for your point of information. The answer is that the United States of America is a country that don't think about only own country. We are here to think about all the nations. We are here to think about the peace in the world, not only in our country. We have enough power to control all of these issues in our country. But here, there are so many people that are being killed. They are innocent. They are living in these kind of places. We are here with all the delegates, all the nations to help these innocent people. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. So next on the script, you want to present your point of information, the delegate of Russian Federation. Delegate, the floor is yours.
Dear Delegate of United States, you said that if we got you right, you proposed innovative mechanism for the activity of PMC. What kind of exact measures do you have to propose? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Delegation of Russian Federation. As the delegation of the United States of America mentioned before during the speech about the motion, we have certain specific steps how to incorporate this approach. It can be considered not only approach, it can be considered as a convention. It includes a document which is guaranteed by the United Nations, which is guaranteed by all the states of the world who agree to support this document, this approach. The delegation of the United States of America can exemplify some of the steps. The delegation of the United States of America would like to demonstrate these steps during the unmoderated talks, upcoming talks. Thank you.
So, honorable delegates, we, on behalf of the DICE, I recommend you to raise a motion to move to unmoderated caucus to communicate better and get to know each other better than this, without any formalities. So honorable delegate of Turkey, proceed with South Africa and Russian Federation. Go to work. floor is yours.
No, we would like to raise a motion for to move
Okay. You. So.
Delegation of Turkey would like to move to unmoderated topics.
Thanks a lot. Chair has your motion. So now we'll need to conduct the voting procedure. So those who are in favor of. Oh, sorry. Like, how many minutes, like hours, I don't think hours, days, years, centuries? 15 minutes overall. Okay, so we have received the motion by the delegate of Turkey, to move to unmoderated conferencing with overall time of 15 minutes. So now we will conduct voting once again. So delegates who are in favor of this motion, please raise your placards high and keep them. So, no need to count your placards. I hope with simple majority your motion has passed and it is in order. So we kindly ask you to be back your seats at 1:50. Thanks a lot. 1:55, sir. 1:55, you should be here. Thank you very much, honorable delegate. So, the initiator of the motion to move to informal caucusing, honorable delegate of Turkey, we ask you to make a statement. So you asked to move, like you raised a motion to move. No, I mean, results, what happened? Chair recognizes Nurse America.
Thank you very much, the Honorable Chairperson and the hearing members. During the unmoderated caucus, the delegations discussed about the possible realistic solutions on the problem, and yet we have right now all the countries have like almost the same almost the same approach how to tackle the problem, but due to the lack of time we haven't come to a final status. So the results were the approach to the regulation, the approach to the new binding, the approach to the innovative methods, to the innovative ways of tackling this problem. We discussed about this, and right now the delegation of the United States of America would like to raise again motion on unmoderated caucus with a total time of 20 minutes on drafting resolution.
Thank you, Honorable Delegate. But your motion is not in order. So Chair recognizes Honorable Delegate of Yemen.
So before proceeding to unmoderated caucuses, the delegation of Yemen strongly encourages all member states non-member states to join to the discussion of how private military security companies affected Yemeni government and its people, as it was mentioned in position paper, and it was promised to the delegation of France.
So was that motion or just?
Is that motion to discuss the effect of private military security companies to the Middle Eastern countries, especially Yemen?
Could you repeat your title, please?
Motion to discuss the effect of private military security companies to Yemeni government and its people, or to Yemen. Yeah. The time is 7.5 minutes. 3 speakers. For moderated conference.
So, oral time for discussions?
7.5 minutes.
And for delegate?
3 speakers.
Per delegate?
2.5 minutes.
So, the House, we have motion by the honorable delegate of Yemen with the title of the effect of private military security companies to Yemeni government. So, honorable delegate, do you think this refers to all, like, to the interest of all member states here?
That probably the security, the ongoing war in Yemen is hopefully important for each member of this council, but we could discuss the effect of private military security companies to the Middle Eastern countries, especially to Yemen.
Okay, so will you amend your title, the subtopic?
If the title is not appropriate, we are ready to amend.
Okay. So thank you very much. So the House, we have the motion by the delegate of Yemen that sounds the effect of private military security companies to Yemeni government with the oral time for discussion 7.5 minutes and 2.5 for each delegate. So now we need to proceed with voting. Delegates who are in favor of this.
Point of order.
Yes, you can recognize.
Honorable delegate of Yemen, can you can we add to your kind of debate, as we are all here to discuss all of this, your topic even? I mean, to solve the problem. You're just limiting the speakers.
Honorable delegation of...
thank you very much, honorable delegate of Uzbekistan. So you want to add?
Yes, please. Honorable delegate of Yemen, the delegation of Islamic Republic of Pakistan considers that this issue is not so crucial at this moment. We think that we first of all need to formulate what is PMC is, because I mentioned that I noticed that some of us just have different imaginations on the issue of PMC.
Sorry for interruption. So you're not given the floor to direct discussion between delegates prohibited. So now we need to vote for or against the motion by Yemen. So is there any objection to the floor?
Objection or in favor?
Objection. So as we have objections, we need to hold voting procedure. So delegates who are in favor of this motion, please raise your placards high and keep them. Thanks a lot, but as you have already passed your time and right and opportunity, the delegate of the United States of America, he has done and he has completed reporting the results of informal caucusing. Therefore, we have passed that stage. Thanks a lot. So is there any motion in the House? Delegate of Equatorial Guinea. The floor is yours.
Thank you, honorable guys and honorable delegates. We are here to express our African and also Equatorial Guinea's interest in African countries. So, in some African countries, there is a risk of mini arms race developing between pirates and private security operators. African countries are suffering from this kind of threats, mostly in Somalia, Equatorial Guinea, and other countries.
Honorable delegate, sorry for interruption.
Is it possible?
Honorable delegate, please be reminded that you're not given to state your remarks. Let me do like this. So, if you are given, if you're recognized by the chair during the general utilization, you should say, maybe, thank you very much, Ms. or Mr. Chairperson, or someone else. The delegation of Equatorial Guinea raised a motion to discuss the topic as follows, and you will state your subtopic. But the oral time of it should be brief and understandable, with simple language, sounded with simple language, and you will tell the oral time for discussion and how many minutes you dedicate for each delegation. It will be like this. Please be reminded. So, once again, do you have any remarks? Further remarks?
The delegation of Equatorial Guinea would like to express, would like to write as a motion that is it possible to use private military companies to perform anti-piracy operations?
Your motion shouldn't be in question form. You're asking, is it possible? We don't know if it's possible or not. You should present your...
our opinions about regarding the question, and we also would like to add this problem to resolution.
So, what you will add into your resolution paper is your job. I will not intervene. So, but I will remind you once again, your motion should not be in question form. Does the delegate have any further remarks? Thanks a lot. So is there any motions in the House? So the first is the United States, presented by Turkey. Honorable Delegate of the United States, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. The delegation of the United States of America would like to raise a motion on unmoderated caucus with total time of 20 minutes.
So the delegate of the United States raised a motion to move to unmoderated caucus with unmoderated with 20 minutes. So we have the motion by the delegate of the United States of America to move to unmoderated caucusing with overall time limit of 20 minutes. 12 or 20, right? Yeah, 20 minutes. So, is there any objection? As we have objection, we'll need to hold voting procedure. So, is there, like, delegates who are in favor of the motion by the United States of America, please raise your placards high and keep them. A simple majority, this motion is passed. So you need to be back at like 20 minutes, right? 2:30.
Honorable delegates, the delegation of the United States of America would like to introduce own resolution, draft resolution. It includes all the steps. It includes what kind of measures we should take. So any interested states, any interested delegations are welcome to join us. Thank you.